Yo, what up? It's your man Khaos on the MIC. This is Late Night Chaos. You already know what it is. This is the first official Nights at the Round Table. You already know what it is. And I couldn't think of a better way to start that off than forming like Voltron and coming together, forming Alex Jones. No, I'm just kidding.
All 4 equal parts.
Exactly.
Nah, man. How y'all doing? I'll let you guys go around and introduce yourselves. We'll start with Nick.
Nick Gonzalez, host of the Financially Lit podcast. I've been doing stuff with ICOVEST for the last 2 or 3 years now, just trying to spread financial literacy, teach people about jurisdictional finances and the differences, trying to get them to grow their assets. Really, that's what we're doing over here.
Yeah. What's up, DJ? Tell the people what they fucking with. Tell them why you sexy. Pause.
DJ, the finesse kid, blessed and moving in truth. You know what I'm saying? Doing what I can I do my best year round. And speaking of, I got a couple different brands, Year Round Finesse. That's my personal lifestyle brand. Got Functional Fitness. That's the group fitness. You know what I'm saying? Having people have fun, put some work in and get funky. You know what I'm saying? Finesse Farms. Shout out to OU Media for building my site.
Hey.
Shout out.
It's your boy.
Peace and blessings. My site looks beautiful. So a lot of people just reaching out about what I got going on after I lost 300 pounds in 18 months. So I just bring a lot
Congrats, man.
Yeah. Big ups, bro. For real.
Yeah, a lot of intensity and a lot of truth that I'll be bringing. So peace and love.
Hell yeah.
And of course, I wouldn't be as I say woke as the youngins like to say, or aware. I wouldn't be aware and on my way if it wasn't for my brother right next to me. If you want to introduce yourself.
Yes, sir. So yeah, my name's KT the Intellect. We co-host the Elevated and Melanated podcast. I help people correct their status, you know what I'm saying? Help people get their indigenous status back if you've lost it. So I help people who are U.S. citizens come out of that corporate slavery. So that's what we talk about on our podcast, different topics associated with such. And yeah, we just helping people understand the true nature of the matrix that they find themselves in and then understand the commercial system and how to navigate through it.
Hell yeah. Dope. I see you've been practicing, both of y'all. Media trained out here. Nah, man, your guys' podcast, like I've been there behind the scenes. I seen all the stuff that ain't out yet. You guys are savages. I'm so excited to see the reaction, the information be brought to light, all of the above, you know what I'm saying? I know you guys already ran into some trouble with the ops, you know what I'm saying? So like the messages are super real, and it's just exciting to see people with the same mindset and like the same goals and here like trying to tell that to their following and their people, their family, their friends. So I appreciate what y'all are doing, man.
That's real. We appreciate you. Being behind the scenes, you feel me? We appreciate you. Khaos bringing a lot of value to the podcast. Couldn't do without him.
I appreciate it. And Nick G, man, we've been rocking for some years now. You put me on game a couple years ago. I was very just closed-minded, living in a box and cool with it, just trying to get, money.
Right.
And I was like, would always hear things, but not really care, whether it was geopolitics, high finance stuff. Mm-hmm. And then you kind of came in and wrapped it all up together in a nice little package and with the tie and was like, yo, this is what's really going on. You know what I'm saying? So we've been working together for a little while now. Yep. And you're in here cooking content too. The Financially Lit podcast is beautiful. I'm excited to see you also spreading the message, you know what I'm saying? Trying to wake up as many people as possible or just spread truth, you know what I'm saying? Because all the time, every day, all over the world, the truth is chaos. And that's what we're on this show. That's what we're on this show to talk about, you know what I'm saying? So how you guys feeling? I'm glad you guys were able to make it today, you know what I'm saying, to the round table.
Yes, sir.
We haven't cut the corners off yet, but it'll be round.
We're going to get there, yeah. We get a full round table here.
Yeah, we got an oval coming.
Right. But how y'all doing? It's been a crazy year and even a year and a half now, you know what I'm saying? The stuff slowed down and now it's speeding back up, you know?
Yeah, I think Pfizer just got FDA approved.
Oh.
Right.
Big things.
Getting wild out there.
Yeah, and we're the first country. Almost like they're using the American people as guinea pigs.
Not even the CEO will take it if FDA approves it, right?
Right. No, that's 100%.
He was saying he's healthy enough. He's like, I'm 55, 56, something like that. I don't need to take it. Mm-hmm. But he was definitely recommending us to take it or anybody else to take it.
So we're in our 20s and we healthy, but he in his 50s and he's too healthy to take it. So it's just a very interesting dichotomy there. Very interesting.
Yeah, bro.
No, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And especially with us being the first country is like, I don't know. It's kind of crazy. It's like they're testing things here. Like nobody else is fully approved. It was only authorized under emergency use, which is a big difference between it being fully approved. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting moving forward to see how these companies try to force these mandates through, or so to get their people to jab. So
the other thing is, like, before this, I mean, FDA approval would take 10 years. 7 to 10 years on average to get something through FDA approval, and this is with pharmaceutical companies fighting for profit. They're pulling every punch they can to get that through, greasing his palms if they need to get these through in the name of profit for the company. 100%. And it would take 7 to 10 years on average. Now you're telling me because of emergency powers and what's going on today that we actually got an FDA approval in a year? Come on, dog. That's not even, if this was possible, this would have been the case going like as it was. It's just not.
Last couple of decades.
Right.
As much money as they're making.
I mean, that's the best way to probably start the show off is with the jab, you know what I'm saying? Because in the crazy times that we live in, in certain places, you have to get it right now. So in New York, if you have a disability that prevents you from getting such jab, you can't work right now. So the government has taken your job away for having disabilities, you know what I'm saying? There's all kinds of disabilities that prevent you from getting certain type of jabs and pokes, you know what I mean? Like, especially different immune issues where it's like, you can't inject me with some sort of sickness because I'll die. Like my immune system's already compromised. Like there's all kinds of shit where it's like, yo, keep that away from me. And now those people are out of work or being forced to make horrible decisions, you know what I'm saying? And it's all based on bullshit. We know this, you know what I'm saying? For the last year and a half, we've been trying to tell people like, yo, they're closing down these businesses by the thousand. You know what I'm saying? 100,000, over 100,000, you know what I'm saying, local owned like bars, restaurants, etc. in Cali are closed forever now because of what the local government did. And, which is an economy play, obviously.
Pressure on them.
Yeah. And then now the jab, man, you can't go to certain places. You can't go to certain they're splitting people up, you know what I'm saying? They did this back in the day, you know what I'm saying, in Germany or whatever with Nazis. They're trying to turn neighbors and family against each other. Some Civil War type shit,
And the government can't like straight up say they're going to mandate it for everybody. 'Cause obviously, like, human health is so case by case. It's so different. How can you say that everybody needs to take this and we haven't had the time to study it and you can just mandate it that way? But what they can do, obviously, is put the pressure on the businesses and major corporations who employ a large number of Americans, start there, Fortune 500, for example, and say, we need you to start saying that you need to have your employees vaccinated in the name of public safety or else they can't work for you. And on a private level, a private company, private corporation, they are well within their rights to make that decision. But then you as a person who brings value to that corporation in the social contract that you have for employment, you can also take your skills and go to somewhere else in the market and then maybe someone that doesn't make you get vaccinated. But how long does that work?
Exactly.
It just it forces the burden onto the person. And it's messed up, especially when we don't know the side effects. We truly don't. And we see people dying, we see a bunch of adverse reactions, and it's like, oh well, I got the one that was approved. It's like, well, you're really not gonna know for like 5 years. In all reality.
All reality. Man. And like you said, they put in more the onus on the person. And if we're going to live in a republic, people have to understand that the power lies in the people, but the people have to be, be educated and be aware of their rights and how to enforce their rights. And so I think that a lot of this is coming down to the fact we're learning now how much power corporations have on this land and through the power of employing people. By giving people their livelihood, that makes you a very dependent person on whoever's providing your livelihood. So it's just bringing to the surface how many people live very dependent lives on these corporations and may not even know it.
It's crazy. Yeah. Another word would be a financial slave.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. So people are willfully and voluntarily signing up for, like you said, financial slavery, but not for 5 years, 10 years, 7 years. Because even talking about indentured servitude, a lot of those people came over here was maybe in digital service for 7 years and got 10 acres. You know what I'm saying? Like you ain't getting no land. A lot of people ain't getting no land working 10, 20, 30 years and don't got no acres.
Nope.
So who's really the slave in the
Social
situation?
Security, which has already been robbed, and you ain't gonna even see that. So like you've been sold an American dream.
People got so mad at Kanye when he told them they're choosing to be slaves. So like you're obviously on the other side of that conversation. So people got mad because they don't understand what he's talking about. But you understand what he's talking about.
Oh, 100%.
So when he said that, what was he talking about? He wasn't talking about obviously 400 years ago choosing to be getting whipped. But he was talking about now.
He's talking about now. In the now, because people people look towards the past and they think they understand it, but they really don't. They think things have changed. When things have become more voluntary, like, so before, like you could force somebody to be a slave, blah, blah, blah. But like now you actually have rights on paper. But if you voluntarily waive those rights, then you become a voluntary slave. And that's what's really happened. Especially when Kanye made that song, New Slaves. Like he's talking about the new slave, you know what I'm saying, is done by, it was always been done by contract. Yeah. But now these contracts are controlled by huge corporations as opposed to a plantation. So the plantation just turned into a corporation. And that's the skirt liability, because with a corporation, the people don't have no liability. The corporation is 100%. This fictional entity has a liability. You know what I'm saying?
And we say the biggest plantation might be the U.S. corporation.
Oh, I would say the biggest. 100%. Yeah, 100%. The biggest, the biggest employer. And in most states, the state of Arizona, like the big. I'm pretty sure that's the biggest employer in the state of Arizona. So like these municipal corporations, we've allowed them to grow so large and become so out of hand, and we become so inept at putting our rights on paper, you know what I'm saying, and understand how to stand up for our personal and private rights, that these corporations have ran roughshod or rumshot over the population, and it's just squeezing them for their assets, for their land, and now they've taken most of the land. A lot of Americans don't even own the house they live in. Even if you have a mortgage, you don't own the house, you know what I'm saying? So they've taken the land. Now what they want access to people's bodies, you know what I'm saying? That's the next step.
For sure.
The old mark of the beast, as they say.
Yeah. Speaking of like the bodies, I think that's what it comes down to. Like you were saying, at the core of it, why are we even having to take, vaccine, or why are we even have to take the jabberoni? You know what I'm saying? It's just, I think we've gotten so far into this artificial world, and people are thinking about, how can I get healthy quick? But like if you look at nature's never overnight with healing. No, that's if you see an animal get cut, like it takes a while for it to heal up, and it's the same thing with us. Like people are talking about, we should be taking these at birth. Like no, like when did that become a thing? And so
that's crazy.
That's why I think about on a holistic, healthy level, because I'm what you would call a legalized at a time crack addict, or drug addict, because I used to be on, like what is it, the Ritalins, the Adderalls, the Vyvanse,
prescribed
as a kid, and you got to understand, like when you're giving a kid that, that's not something you should be like, what?
Right. Just so they zone out for a minute and like calm down, because you don't want to parent them properly or something.
Yeah, obviously I'm
a lot of what happens in the community.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Obviously 100%. I'm no doctor, but we also, you guys all understand like how the Rockefellers, they started to take over the world with, and obviously in the medical field as well, start taking over that. And I feel like that's a big reason as to why all this hocus pocus is going on with the jabberoni. You know what I'm saying? So that's really what I've been thinking about, is like, why are we even going down this route? People don't understand it from that level. They think because we're so institutionalized on the, this is what we've been doing, taking vaccines, but like, why? I mean, when did that become a thing?
Yeah, you got a good point. Something has to be said about natural medicine, your own immune system, your ability to make the body be able to defend itself at peak performance by what you put in it. And if you do that, you've been given everything on this planet to ward off anything that's going to come towards you.
Let food be that medicine.
But then you have, an American government or a government around the world, or a collective of governments that wants to do gain of function research on a virus like the COVID-19, the SARS-CoV virus out of the Wuhan lab. Like if you're doing gain of function research to try to make something more deadly or more contagious, or you're trying to synthesize something that's not natural in nature.
Yeah.
I got two problems with that shit, bro. One, they lied to us the entire time. They said, no, it's not from here. It wasn't made in the lab. No, Fauci ain't got nothing to do with it. Yeah. And then 100% the whole time we was telling motherfuckers like, Fauci is like the head of virology at the Wuhan lab. It's American money.
It's the National Institute of Health.
Function research. Yeah. The second reason I'm mad is because why the fuck are you trying to make this shit more dangerous?
Right.
Like, are we trying to have some Walking Dead shit pop off? Like, what the fuck are y'all even doing this for?
If you're trying to do some research to make a weapon of some sort that goes against the Geneva Convention, fine. Tell us you're doing that, though. Don't tell us you're going to do something and then when it gets out, be like, oh my God, this was an accident and got out. And then now it's spreading all over the world. Because now the narrative is so messed up and jaded. It's like, was it an accident that it got out? I mean, now everything that you said going forward, we have to analyze with a grain of salt because you lied from the jump.
Exactly.
Like where the money came from, who made the decision, why it happened. They said it was bat soup, for God's sake. Like, and then we
not
realized,
the wet markets. I got a whole episode on wet markets because they lied.
Is Contagion? Crazy, like, is that what we're watching, the movie Contagion? Like that was the movie with the bat?
Yeah,
like, come on,
no,
bro.
predictive programming.
And then you know, as time passes and you have data, real data to analyze and look back on, and then you see, and then, you know, more of the truth gets uncovered. And come to find out, there was a leak in the lab where they're doing the research. 2 of the people that were there got sent home sick before they even knew that how deadly this virus. They probably knew. I don't even know. They're doing the research in the lab. They sent these guys home, right? So they get sent home, and then over a 2-week like incubation period, it gets out around that market area and all that. And it's like, okay, you sent the guys home who just contracted something that you made hella contagious. Like, that just seems sketchy to me. Like, why would you quarantine them?
Yeah.
Even if they had a cough, like they were working with this stuff, you know what I mean? Like, what kind of precautions are you using? Well, then again, you're doing it in China. Why are you doing it in China? Because way lax regulation there. You're going to be able to do this kind of research in China, not the United States, where you got all these layers of checks and things like that. You're going to go to a country like this.
It sounds like about 8 movies in Hollywood that I can name. Every situation you just said, it sounds like 8 movies in Hollywood that came out.
The last year and a half, just put all those 8 movies on the same timeline.
The World War Z's, the Resident Evil's back. I mean, obviously we're all old enough.
So you know the new trilogy, the Planet of the Apes, the new 3.
Oh yeah.
The end of the first one. You remember the end of the
Not
first
the one? With Mark Wahlberg.
No, the virus, the simian flu got out.
Oh, is that the old school?
No, that's like there's 2 reboots.
Yeah, there's
a 2001.
The old one, like,
that
was
the
lit.
originals.
That was lit.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Hey, Mark
But no, the
Wahlberg
new
was
one
cold.
though. The new ones though. You've seen the new ones, the new 3.
Yeah.
And the end of the first one, like the same thing that makes the Ape Smart wipes out the humans.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, and the end of it to show like the sick dude gets on a plane, and then it just zooms out and it just shows like all the lines just infecting the whole world, and then when you come back, everybody's dead and shit. But like it just showed them like in the airlines and shit. Like people, that same thing that happened. These motherfuckers. That's a perfect visualization. Like they get on some planes. These people come in contact with. They get sick. They drive over here. They get on planes, and it just spreads around the fucking world and shit.
100%. And then, like you said, I feel like. Especially with these people or these major players that keep recurring, because Dr. Fauci's been around since the 1980s with the advent of the AIDS virus. You know what I'm saying? He was part of that. And there was a doctor, Judy Mikovits, who was working under him at that time, who said that he stole some of her research to claim that he found that AIDS virus was a much bigger part of finding it than he really was. And so this man, multiple people who worked with him and under him have come out and said he's nobody to be trusted. You know what I'm saying? And that he has framed her before, you know what I'm saying, that people raided her crib, you know what I'm saying, to get access to her materials, her research materials.
The man's a two-faced rat.
Yeah, 100%.
I'll say it.
Yeah.
That's what
and
it is.
He always has been,
100%.
And then they made him the face of this shit every day on the fucking news, contradicting himself every other day.
Yeah.
He looks like he would be in a movie though. Like his character, and just like to me, that's really what it is.
He looks like he's really a vampire.
Not to be conspiracy theory about it, but if you were gonna do some shit like just happened and you were gonna release it, wouldn't you want a two-faced rat at the head of it that you could kind of control a little bit better?
A little scapegoat?
You wouldn't really, a little scapegoat. You wouldn't really want someone that's like, aces, straights, and flushes that when they find out, they're going to blow the lid off the whole thing. You want someone that can do dirt, is capable of done dirt. Mm-hmm. You know that they're going to be willing to play ball.
And maybe they took the oath.
Walk in Anthony Fauci.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe he took that oath, because another thing that's going on with this too is there's secret societies at play. You know what I'm saying? If anybody's done any bit of research on either Freemasonry or the occult, they understand that when you get to these higher levels of running the world, there are people who are taking different types of oaths and they're put in positions so that they can be puppets. Like that's their whole career is to be a front man or a face for agenda that they may not be pushing otherwise, but now that because they've taken a certain oath or took a certain check, now they're a part of. But like you said, they're actors.
You took that money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that money comes with strings.
Exactly.
And a lot of the time, especially with the secret societies, I mean, like whether it's like the Luciferians or the different occult groups, the different sects, like they will. It's almost like blood thicker than water, right? But at the same time, if I can get some dirt on you in some way, shape, or form that I can hold over your head, then you're really mine. Because if I'm going to air you out and it's going to ruin your whole career and destroy your family and all of these things, or if I have something that's really, really valuable to you, then it takes it one step above money. For a man that can't be bought, for example. Mm-hmm. Oh, and then all of a sudden, if you have enough money, you have enough people collectively pulling their corporations together with the same mindset around the same ideology, like Luciferianism, for example, they're trying to bring what they believe is the best thing for the planet. They believe that Lucifer is a spirit brother of Jesus Christ because that's just what they believe. So they think that he's a divine, wholesome, loving being of light. And they think that that's the best thing for the planet. So they're not innately evil. They're the most deceived out of everybody, but yet they're still bringing what they believe with their collective resources. They're trying to bring forth their deity. Mm-hmm. Whether you believe it or not, whether it's good or bad for what you think, this is what these folks are doing. Mm-hmm. And they do run a lot of the major corporations on the planet, and they are trying to bring forth a world in their image. Mm-hmm. I mean, who else could do it?
Smart-ass way, too.
Yeah.
To be honest.
If anybody could do it, it would have to be a collective of governments, a collective of transnational conglomerates, corporations, and banks. If you could get those kind of things all in the same play, or if you can get the heads of those things to all be on the same wave, whether it's financially, spiritually, a combination of both, then you're in a good power seat to be able to shape this fraternity into the world's image. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%.
Slowly, yeah.
And especially if you're coming off the heels of colonialism, when colonialism already is amalgamated the resources into the hands of a very few royals.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So so once you're coming off
hundreds of years.
Yeah, exactly. So you come off the heels of colonialism and you take the profits of colonialism and you make the corporations. So the corporations are just a further extension of colonialism. And it's just a more sophisticated form of so, because now you don't have to subjugate the people or go to war with the indigenous people. The indigenous people beg you for a job. Yeah. They beg you for employment. They beg you for skills because they feel like they can't. Either they can't make them on their own or they don't have the resources to. So yeah, like you said, like once you amalgamate such a huge portion of the earth resources together, now you have these corporations and now you have the people's labor. So now you can amalgamate people's labor together. And now you're able to build the world that you want to build because now you have these strings over the majority of population, you know what I'm saying, through these employment, you know what I'm saying? So,
and then depending on, you can even take it one step deeper because like you could run this game in different countries with different ideologies. You could try this game in America where you have certain regulations to get through it. You could try it in China where it's innately communist and the rules and the whole space is different. You might be able to get stuff done, you know, that's a little more fucked up over there than you could over here.
A little quicker.
But you might be able to do some research in Germany or something like that. And then at the same time, when you find out what it is, you might have been telling yourself you were going to use it for good. But most times when some new advancement happens, whoever was researching it, they had one idea in mind, what it was going to be used for, and then big money gets a hold of it, and they use it for something completely different.
That's facts. That's real. That's real. But yeah, and then like you know, you're coming off the mark of the beast and everything. The whole jab and everything that's being talked about in accordance with the, whether it's in the jab or not, the level of nanotechnology that they have is not being really told to the American public.
Right.
And as well, Tesla just announced a little Tesla bot. You know what I'm saying? So we will be seeing robots, you know what I'm saying, walking around probably by the end of this decade. And for me, it comes to a big question because I feel like the whole point of colonialism for the royals was to, you know, amalgamate the resources and the labors of the people and so they can control them. But once you bring in this new technology, you don't need as many people to labor no more. You got robots to do these things. So if you look at 80 or 85% of the world as useless eaters or people who are just laborers who don't create anything, and that's how a lot of these elites look at the bottom 80% of the world, it would be in my best interest as a person at the top to get rid of the 80% so that I can bring in this new technology to replace them in the labor that they were doing. So because I bring this technology in and then this 80% has nothing to do anymore, now we have mass chaos, we have mass riots, so they want to control the collapse or control the chaos. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. If you were going to control that chaos and control that collapse, you would need some form of mass genocide event. And you would have to do it in a way where if you wanted to maintain power afterwards and not be like a Hitler type remembered in history, you'd have to do it in a way where the people willingly took something that was going to kill them soon. Or like engage in food that was going to kill them soon. Engage in medicine that was going to kill them soon. Engage in drinking water that was going to kill them soon. Engage in breathing the air in the cities that was going to kill them soon.
That's why all of these bullshit.
All of these different kinds of things. If you had to depopulate, you know, quickly and you know effectively, where you still maintain power at the end of it, it would have to be a multi-tiered plan over 50, 60, 70 years. Something like what looks like is going on in the United States right now, honestly.
Exactly.
So I think people really sleep on the fact that the people that run the world are very concerned with like depopulation.
For sure.
Or like having a smaller population, in the world. Like Gates, his family,
right,
and all these other fucking people that are doing that shit. I know we took a look at what was called the Deagle Report.
Oh, yeah.
And just in a couple years, the population in the U.S. goes from 300 something to like 90 something.
Hey, I saw that.
So Deagle's one of
the how the fuck do you get rid of 2/3 of your population in 5 years?
Deagle's one of the largest statistical analysis companies on the planet. They're very credible. And I don't know why they would still have this on their website if it was a glitch, because it's been there for at least 6 months.
Yeah.
It's been there for a while. And it says the U.S. population today, 365 million, something like that. And then the U.S. population, I think it was in 5 years. It was 5 years, 2025?
Yeah, 2025.
2025.
Did they do the population for the
It
rest of the
decreased
world?
it down to 90 million. Oh, yeah. Every single other country, it shows their up and downs.
And
And they've been
stats for
historically
everything.
correct.
Because
And
it takes
they're
in deaths and percentages of deaths from every category and populations, and they're like, it's very, very accurate shit.
Yeah, no, I
And
believe.
by-
I'm just trying to see like,
No,
so
yeah,
it's
yeah.
every country.
Yeah, they stack rank every
Dang.
country by population, and then they have a different
But that's
different
just us.
criteria you can look
That
at.
was just us.
Yeah, that's
going from
crazy.
3, I think it's 377 or something.
Yeah, down to
90.
like 90.2 million or something like that.
And the kicker is it's a military website. They track the militaries of the world. If
sure.
I'm not correct, I
Mhm.
mean not incorrect. So like they know how many planes every country has. They know how many jeeps every country has.
How many
And-
bombs every country. They just
Exactly.
don't show us that page.
And,
For real.
and how many people every country
That's-
has. Because
that's
who's
the
going to have
upgraded page.
the more accurate
The
technology?
subscription.
Somebody who's
Got a
tracking the
subscription.
military, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I saw that, and that's a very interesting. It's just
Thing to know.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
To me, because I feel like this is how they're looking at it, right? Because they're not forcing anybody to do anything.
Mm-mm.
They have the guise of mandatory things, but they can't force you.
Societal pressures.
Exactly.
Is all it is up to this point.
If you go into the woods and get a garden going, they can't force you to do nothing. You know what I'm saying? Only because you're connected to this artificial world, whether it be through employment or social security or child support or however you're getting your money. You know what I'm saying? If it's coming through the government or at the behest of the government, then you need them in your life. Thus, like, are we really living are we still in a republic? And that's what some people have to understand, because people talk about democracy. The word democracy is not in the Constitution one time. And so have we left the original ideals that we're supposed to be on? And is this our consequences for it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't think anything happens in this country without the people allowing it to happen.
For sure.
And they're not taking away people's free will. And that's a big, one of their big rules. They don't want to, because there's a karmic backlash whenever you take somebody's free will. So if I can convince you to do something, but I never made you do, I just put in your head that it's a good idea,
Right.
and you pick it of your own volition, then I have no karmic backlash. You know what I'm saying, or in my eyes. So that's what I think is going on right now, and with how people are reacting and how open some people are being with receiving this jab. It's like, how can I argue with people who are choosing to do it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're not making anybody do anything. I feel like that's going to really be the saddest part of this, because if there are really bad adverse effects in the next couple years, people will not have nobody to blame but themselves.
That's true.
And I feel like that's what's really going to drive a lot of people into depression.
It could. Very well could.
Yeah, people sleep on how big of a player Bill Gates is into all of this current situation and then many situations. And then another thing, too, is now he's the #1 farmland owner in the U.S. and has zero intentions in farming that shit while we're in the middle of a food shortage that was purposely caused by him and his friends. Shit is crazy out here. Might have to take his name out, but...
Yeah.
Bang on it one time.
Yeah, exactly. But no, yeah, like you said, at the farm, and he says he doesn't think we should be eating meat. He wants all synthetic meat. You know what I'm saying? These in the last couple
like
years,
the Impossible Whopper.
Exactly.
Like, bro, it's impossible to get me to eat that.
They want us.
That's
eating,
crazy.
They want us eating just what's it called, bro? They like
Soylent Green.
Yeah, do you remember? Have you seen Snowpiercer?
Bro.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
when
That's a
they
great
realize
movie.
they're eating just bugs.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And that's all they want us to eat. And there's literally people in Congress, people in government, politicians right now pushing agendas to have us eating like what was the influx in like cicadas and locusts and shit. Like they're like, yo, there's a lot of protein. Like eat these. And like you know what I'm saying? Like what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they see projections that we don't see. So they may be bringing that to light because they say, well, we cannot continue with this food production, or they see that there's going to be a shortage in the future. So they're preemptively trying to get people used to be eating bugs or things of that nature. And like you said, with Bill Gates, he doesn't think we should be eating meat. It's all synthetic. Beyond burgers, Impossible burgers.
It's all fake.
Yeah, and a study just came out that says that there's cancer-causing agents in that synthetic meat, which doesn't surprise me at all. And also, too, tying with the Luciferian thing, the name of Bill Gates' synthetic company is Morningstar Farms. You know what I'm saying? Of course, that's Lucifer's last name.
Morningstar, yeah.
So
and the vaccine, the serial number on the vaccine ends in 666.
Yeah. It's crazy because I feel like they're putting so much symbolism in it that I feel like from their perspective, they're like, if you can't see this, then you're a moron, and you.
But that's what the Luciferians. That's how the Luciferians draw their power. I'm glad you said that because they believe in survival of the fittest, and they believe that if we will show you everything as it is, because we can't not tell you the truth, otherwise we don't get to derive our power the way that they derive their power. So like they tell you the truth, and if you were dumb enough not to see it or take it or own it because maybe you saw it in a movie, maybe they showed it to you in a movie, but they showed it to you. And they're like, that's how they're getting away with skirting this contract they have with where they're pulling their power spiritually. Because where they're pulling their power spiritually is not going to give them power unless they are upfront completely. It's weird how their doctrine works, but this is just what they believe. So they're like, we can't deceive you. We have to tell you. And then if you're dumb enough to take it after we told you, then that's on you. Survival of the fittest, by all means, will take all of you.
And like you said too, like it's an intergenerational thing. You talk about Bill Gates' family. Bill Gates, I believe it was his grandfather, was on the first board, the General Board of Education, who was writing the curriculum that we all got in these public schools. So this is an intergenerational effort to dumb down the populace from the time you're 4 or 5 years old when you go to preschool. Like, you know what I'm saying? So they've been feeding you surface layer information, just enough to be an employee, right? That's the whole point of the General Board of Education. They wanted to figure out how much education does an employee need, and how much do we have to give him so he can meet his metrics or whatever, but without going to the next step and becoming a business owner in itself. And really, because at least from what I see, it's paperwork. People are very allergic to paperwork in this era. The average American is only reading at a 7th grade level. And a lot of people are in denial about that. So people just, I think subconsciously tend to like shy away from paperwork or shy away from, you know what I'm saying, putting things on paper that can actually save them. It's just very interesting how they, over the last couple generations, brought the American people so far away from the ideals that started this republic. That like we have people who are open communists, open socialists who are out here, and really, and I want to touch on this too because there's an aspect of that because you know when you're young and black or Aboriginal, and you see this, the Black Panther Party, you're like, oh yeah, like they're fighting for us and stuff, but you don't understand that they were Leninists, they were Marxists, like where their ideology comes from, and that's why they were not successful. So it's not to say that those brothers and sisters didn't mean well, but maybe their ideology wasn't the correct one to be taken on because it wasn't the one of their ancestors.
Most effective.
Yeah, exactly. Because republics have been here for thousands of years. They didn't just come here when Europeans came here. So that's something people have to understand too. Like, especially if you're a black or Latino, Native American, a republic where the human live being has the power over the government. That was the one your ancestors lived in, and that's the one they wanted the people to have here when they created the United States of America. So to be going or to be dabbling into that communist or that socialist ideology as a reaction to poverty, as a reaction to oppression and colonization, because I understand it, but it's just not the proper form, or not. It's not the system that we have here. And if you try to create it without the backing of the powers that be, it's not going to be successful. But now the powers that be are backing it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. So,
and then you have to ask why. Why are the powers that be backing it now? All of a sudden, like why is that switch happening?
Exactly.
That's currently happening too, because those same ideals are behind the current race war and the current populace of everything that's going on right now. BLM, whatever, like it's crazy.
No, 100%. Yeah, they're trying to, like we said earlier, trying to divide people. You know what I'm saying? And in this matrix, there's many programs they put into people as children. And race, that's one program, because there's only one race. There's the human race. Now, there's different nationalities, and people have nationalities, but we're all part of the same human family. So there aren't different races, but that's something in America, which is even a concept of race is only a couple hundred years old. It's very new. So it's been pushed down our throats to make it seem like Caucasians are owners, Black and Latinos are slaves, or we're the workers, and we're not supposed to have any power. And that's how we should be interacting with people. But if you understand that in a republic, all humans are created the same, and if you have your correct indigenous status, you have the highest status on the land because you should be respected the most. Just like if you go to any other country, the native people of that land should be respected the most because they kept the nature pristine. If you read any of the explorers that came here, nature here was pristine when they got here. You know what I'm saying? And that's because the tribes here had a connection with the earth. They saw a stewardship relationship with the earth. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't to exploit. It was to keep manageable for future generations.
Live in harmony.
Exactly. And a lot of that's been lost, you know what I'm saying, through colonization. But now if people understand that, like, if you speaking your proper status and you come to people the proper way, all this racism stuff can really be nullified, because racism is something that's very hard to prove, right? But in colonization, though, that's the whole topic of the UN, the whole
for sure.
The whole century is supposed to be about decolonization, but
globalization.
Yeah, exactly. And now we have globalization, but the indigenous people, especially of the Western Hemisphere, don't understand that. And so they revert to this idea of racism, which is a very low level understanding of colonization. Because a colonist doesn't have to be racist to colonize you.
Facts.
You could take advantage of somebody and think they're equal
for those resources,
to you.
bro. I want what you got.
Exactly.
I got a bigger stick, and that's all it breaks down to.
Exactly. So
he could be racist.
Yeah, he could be. You know what I'm saying? But he doesn't have to be. But the power that he has over you, that's what we have to look into. How does he have commercial power to tell you where to live, to tell you what to eat? You know what I'm saying? How does that commercial power come about? And that's what we try to get to elevating and melanated. How do we get to this position, and how do we get out of it? Because there's a karmic aspect to everything. Because Caucasians are in charge now. We were in charge for thousands of years, and maybe Asians turn in a couple decades. You know what I'm saying? To take their couple hundred years in charge. Different nationalities of the human race have been in charge and had different global empires.
No nation sits secure.
Exactly. So that's something we have to understand. Like, just because some people are in power now doesn't mean you're any less than. Because if you look in history, your people were in power at one time before and for a much longer time period.
Yeah.
So
you were kings once.
Exactly. So everything's to be understood, and it's not to be emotional about. There's a lot of emotionalism that goes in the community, and that's on purpose, because it's much harder for an emotional person to think logically. If you think that you're owed something all the time, it's going to be harder for you to start to work to build something for yourself, because you feel like you've been bamboozled. And there may be a aspect to that is true, but as men, you have to understand that there was wars that we lost. Like, we lost wars. Like, this land was conquered by conquest. So you can't cry about a war. Like, it happened. It happened. You know what I'm saying? But like,
at the end of the day,
yeah, exactly.
What happened is what it is.
Exactly. And now that we're supposed to be decolonizing, the UN recognizes that, and America recognizes that. There's plenty of resolutions in the Congress for that. We can go back and get what was once ours, but you have to remember who you were. And that is the plight of the Black American, or even the Latino American. They've been taken away from their roots. You know what I'm saying? So like, they could be rebuilt into like these modular people who just work for corporations, or kind of like bots. You know what I'm saying? And but all of that can be regained. But first, we have to stop being emotional and think logically. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
for sure. I think I don't understand. In every time period so far, like at least in American history, no matter what's going on, no matter what wars being fought or who's in power, like, we're constantly fighting communism, bro.
For sure.
Like, in every time
100%.
period, there was just like different leaders or different regimes where it was like, oh yeah, and obviously today too, it's crazy. And
some of the darkest places in history you can look,
bruh.
Mm-hmm.
So like, my next topic I wanted to bring up is the whole "you will own nothing and you will love it." You know what I'm saying? The homepage of the fucking UN,
of the United
New
Nations.
World Order fucking website or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
So the New World Order, the United Nations, whatever you could probably dive a little deeper into all the connections and shit. But there's obviously a huge, powers at play right now to just turn us into like a communist world, essentially, where you don't own anything
in the name of globalism.
You don't have anything. Everything is just owned by one fucking state, one currency, like all this shit, man. It's crazy.
And OnlyFans just changed the,
Hell yeah.
In other news,
no, but that's real, 100%. Because we just did a podcast on that. We were talking, like you said, we're talking. The UN, like, they have the Agenda 2030 or Agenda 21. They have Agenda 21, which they want to get to by 2030.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 2030 is a big year for them.
Well, they have a 2030, 2040, 2045, and 2050 plan as well. It's just called the plan, not the agenda. But like, either way, bro, they literally have mapped it out on how and when they're going to need to make these specific parameters fall, so that they can move the world towards a more globalist ideology.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, I think it was you who posed the question, like, why do the powers that be want a communist system? So in a communist system, the state owns everything, right? Well, who owns the state? And that's something that, if you don't understand the specific entity status of the United States, you won't understand that the United States corporation has owners, or it has creditors, right? The Federal Reserve, which is owned by the IMF. Mm-hmm. So the state isn't organic for the people, you know what I'm saying, de jure country. It is a corporation that has masters, and they have to do things at their whim, you know what I'm saying? So if the state owns everything, and then the state is owned by these international bankers will essentially own the world. And I feel like communism is being pushed because it's the most advantageous system for the international bankers.
It's the only one that could actually work under a globalist doctrine. You couldn't push a globalist doctrine under a democracy or a republic, because like, how does somebody who rules the world in, like, you know, at The Hague, for example, who sits there, how are they going to make a decision what's good in Colorado versus what's good in Turkey versus what's good in Australia? And we're gonna rule everybody from one headquarters, and we're gonna just have zones, and we're gonna be able to figure out exactly how these people need to operate. You're not gonna be able to do that effectively with the democratic rule of law. It will just break down too quickly. You would have to get people to acquiesce into a communist regime or force a communist regime on them. And it's probably easier to get them to accept it. Yep. So how do you get them to accept it? You have a battle in the minds, in the hearts and minds of the people over time. And you do that with the technology of today, whether it's social media. And, you know, social media is so powerful these days. It's so addictive. People just wake up and they're on their phones all day. And the way the algorithms work, obviously we know, like, the more you interact with something, the more it's going to be served up to you. So people that are on there, like, talking shit about stuff they hate all day is just getting that it's just a hate loop of stuff that they don't even want to see or like, and it's just going into it. At the same time, people are trying to advertise at you for these dollars, so you got cookies following you around and all these little bits of information so that they can listen to your conversation and serve you up an ad at the right perfect time. Well, if you have access to that in the name of capitalism, what happens when a government uses that kind of data to then try to radicalize a group of people, or politicize a different group of people, or divide and conquer these people because you're going to pit gay versus straight, or black versus white, or any of these little micro groups that divide themselves? The people are dividing themselves on these issues because, and you know, what's fueling it? It's a lot of the social media campaigns that are being paid for by a lot of these people that are pushing for globalism because they're tied to a corporation that's going to benefit from it, or whatever it may be. They're in that cog somehow, and they're paying for this outcome, for lack of a better word.
So in the last year and a half, it's been crazy. That's all you've seen. Is everybody getting pit against everybody.
So in your opinion, what can the people do about it?
Put the phone down. For sure. Put the phone down, get back into a face-to-face interaction with each other. That's first and foremost, but also it's unfortunate that you have to vet everything so hard these days. The source, and most people don't have the time to do that, because they work in a job, you know, they got kids, they have to make ends meet still. If they're working for a corporation, they're an employee, they're a financial slave. They got to make this work. The only people that truly have time to, like, dive into this is either someone who's getting taken care of by somebody because they don't have to work all day, or somebody who's in a good enough place to have assets that cash flow for them. If you can have cash flowing assets for your family, you don't have to trade time for dollars anymore. Now you have your own thing where you can employ people or whatever it is, however you set it up. That way your cash flow comes in. Now you have the time to free up to be able to research what has been done to the American people over time. Most people, because they're financial slaves, they don't have the time to decipher it. And it's so crazy that if you had the time and you understood and you tried to bring it to them, it's so far outside of their realm of comprehension that they're just gonna be like, no, that's not real. No, you're a conspiracy theorist. No, like this is crazy. You must have read that on the internet. What rabbit holes have you been down? You get all your information on YouTube, or I've heard all kinds of things, and it comes from people that don't have the time to actually study the data. And they form an opinion and a knee-jerk reaction because it's so far outside of how they view the world. And it's easier to just say, no, that's not real, you're crazy, and just go about your life than it is to actually dig in. And by the time the switch happens, it'll be too late. The time to fight was now, or last year, or years ago. Like, get engaged in the discourse so that we don't fall into communism or fascism or whatever it is that needs to come first before America would eventually get into a communist state. But it's crazy, bro. It's crazy.
And obviously, if that's your goal, you'd want to take the guns from the people first.
For sure.
They just come out. Biden just came out with a new sanction on Russia, so there's no more ammo coming from Russia.
So mad, dog.
Yeah, no more ammo.
I got like 1K, 1,000 rounds of AK ammo stacked, and I'm just like, man, because I can't. The ones that we can get in the States right now, everything's doubled.
Exactly.
Right? So, and then the things that are going to get imported, it's like, people were saying, well, maybe you can just take the manufacturer ship from Russia and send it to like Poland or Germany, and then we'll buy it from them. But the way the ammo works, it follows a number, and the way the international trade works, you'll know the country that was manufactured in,
100%.
and that's not coming to the United States at all.
100%.
And it's just bad, bro.
Yeah.
They already took away all our machine guns. They already took away all our other AKs. All the import bans on anything Russian has been there. Now they hit ammo. It's just like, damn.
It's crazy because in the same week, he'll give 600,000 fully automatic rifles to the Taliban, right? Or, you know what I'm saying? And then in the same week, he'll put a ban on Russian ammo. And he knows it's going to hit the domestic price on ammo. You know what I'm saying? So these are all coordinated steps to lead people to a much more depowered future, because contrary to like what a lot of people think, the Second Amendment is not there for a hunting or anything like that. That's there for a despotic government, a tyrannical government. So, you know what I'm saying? So, and this ties in another thing too. Many founding fathers said this too, like the people will get the government they deserve. So if the people fall into ignorance, the people fall into apathy, then they get a tyrannical government. You know, they get a despotic government. And the Second Amendment is there for the people who didn't forget. You know what I'm saying? Didn't forget that. You know what I'm saying? I have my human rights. I have my private rights. You know what I'm saying? This is a republic. The people are in power. Exactly. They're just public servants. So when you start looking at your public servants as somebody with authority, see, that's when the power relationship between people and government flips, and the government has some psychological hold over the people. And I feel like that's really what's going on right now, because this is a brain game. This is a mind game, right? Sure. So if you think that person has authority over you, you're going to act accordingly. But if you know that you have authority over them as a private citizen, then that whole how you interact with people, how everything you do changes.
Walk in confidence.
Exactly, and that's another thing too. If you have the right spirit behind you and stuff, like a lot of this information will come to you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Once you start looking for it, you know what I'm saying? The teacher or the information will find you. And I feel like you said, a lot of people will hear some of this information and it will be so outside the realm of their comprehension, they'll reject it. A lot of people who accept this information, in my experience, are people who already felt like something was already wrong.
True.
Like something was already
wrong. That is very
true.
It's interesting you said that.